So, gentlemen, I want to talk to you today about the the area of feelings and and how you just can't trust your feelings. And sometimes, as I say, as my title is, sometimes your head has to tell your feelings or your heart to shut up. And so, yeah, feelings really mess up a lot of people. I'm going to put the talk in the chat here now, Lord willing. Okay, where's the little plus going on there? You'd think by now, there you go. And thanks, Austin, for passing it on. So you could open up the document when you get it, called "Telling Your Feelings to Shut Up," and I pray that it'll be encouragement to you, as I've put this together clearly with you gentlemen in mind. And so yeah, our feelings are on a continuum from negative to positive. You know, on one end is all the negative, bad feelings of frustration and disloyalty, rejection, all the negative feelings. The other side is, exhilarating, excited, all of the positive emotions. There's a continuum between negative and positive on the emotional scale. And our feelings are an internal assessment of the emotional climate of our heart. It's how you're experiencing life. Are you experiencing life good? Are you experiencing life bad? Is it challenging? What is going on that kind of governs your feelings? And so that's where we're trying to come to understand, especially when you have to tell your negative feelings to shut up. Now, sometimes your positive feelings take over and you make foolish decisions, emotional decisions, because you were euphoric and you didn't think it through. So even sometimes positive emotions where you feel excited about something can be even erroneous. So, but primarily I'm talking about when the negative feelings control us. And negative feelings are the recognition of anything that brings discomfort to us, any kind of emotional frustration. And as I've implied, you can't base your decisions on these feelings. Now, I got a bit of a section here that I hope will be helpful for you to understand, because there's the intersection of a person being driven or governed by their emotions and the young man who gets early addicted to porn. And so understand how feelings are controlled now by your addiction and how that happened. Okay, so let's stay with me as I walk through this. In your adolescent years, you were still developing as a person in all ways: biologically, physically, emotionally, relationally, sexually, and many more areas. You're developing in all areas. The dangerous combination of your life immaturity, your neurological susceptibility, because a young teen's brain from 10 to 17 is really developing and really in flux and really susceptible. And so this combination of life immaturity, you don't have a lot of experience about life and good decisions yet, and neurological susceptibility and sexual unawareness. No one's really told you much about sexuality. Maybe 10, 12% of people ever have a sex talk from their parents that talks about masturbation, the dangers and what to do with that. And both the normalness of it and also the dangers of it. No one's had those talks, so sexually unaware. And it makes a young teen very vulnerable to addictive behavior. And when you add any outside pressures, okay, family strains, personal hurts, etc., any outside pressures, the discovery of porn and masturbation, and with it, the amazing sense of exhilaration, like the emotional pleasure cocktail that goes off in the head, is phenomenal. And so it's, whoa, that was awesome. And it also brings a sense of relief that the orgasm brings. You have all things needed for a dysfunctional pattern of dependency. I say dysfunctional pattern of dependency because we're talking about addiction, you see? Now go to that second paragraph there. You found that most any emotional pain that you're carrying, whatever it's from, could be silenced, at least for a while, through a strong hit from this new adolescent drug of choice, the PMO cycle. PMO, you know this, porn, masturbation, orgasm, the PMO cycle. It was also the addiction, the PMO cycle, was very private and virtually undetectable. Like if you're strung out on weed and people see it in your eyes, if you're drinking, you're slurred and they can smell it on you. Other addictions are much more noticeable, but the sexual addiction as it grows is very private and virtually undetectable. The PMO reward cycle started, and with it, unbeknownst to you, a growing and deepening addiction started. Sexual release became your life, your secret fantasy world. It's how you started to, in some ways, cope. But part of it is just biological. It feels good. Now, this repeated behavior and your young, susceptible mind created a deep addiction. Your addiction brought instant biological gratification, no argument, and instant emotional relief. So your sexual addiction brought these things. And so the PMO addiction has fueled the pain avoidance path, pain avoidance. Because if I am in any kind of pain, any kind of emotional strain, I can go get relief. At least I can shake it off. This will help. I'll feel better. And and what happens is, as a well-trained young addict, you start to avoid discomfort at all costs. And so now you're starting to see the connection between emotional immaturity, dealing with emotions in a negative way, and a strong biological addiction starting to collide together. So addiction makes you a slave to your feelings. All negative feelings, negative sensations, negative moods, negative whims become solvable by your acting out. So rather than learning to work through hard things in a maturing way, you simply go to the drug of choice and get a sense of relief. And so what happens is this biological addiction and emotional strains, you don't learn perseverance. You actually learn find relief, get relief, and you don't work through hard things. You bury them, you sedate them, you get the release, and it kind of takes the pressure off for a while. It doesn't change the problem, but there's a sense of euphoria that comes granted. So the young addict's mind operates on pain avoidance. PMO is to soothe all my pain, to feel better, to feel powerful, to have a physiological high. The young addict is thinking, I don't deserve pain. I don't like pain. Whatever the source of pain, it hurts. So it could be rejection, disapproval, loneliness, failure, whatever. But lack of a learned ability to handle emotional strains combined with no ability for sexual self-denial and emotional adolescence is established. I'm going to give a quick review because some of you don't know emotional adolescence like some of you do. You know, I've already done a whole hour talk, around 40-minute talk on what is emotional adolescence. Originally, of course, Dr. Weiss saw this, and I see it all the time. So I can really affirm his work by my own experience in working with, 150 addicts in the last 5 years. And so let me give you a quick review of emotional adolescence. Sexual preoccupation during the teen years, and with it, the learned behavior of pain avoidance through the PMO cycle. And the youth starts or stops growing emotionally. See, there's so much focus on my emotional pain and getting released through the addiction, so much biological drive to act out in this PMO cycle, and even other things, taking advantage of girls, all kinds of different ways to act out. But what happens is there is a flattening. Instead of continuing to mature in life, working through things that healthy adult male living, thinking maturity looks like, we flatten. We stop growing emotional adolescence. And so the young addict remains immature, and doesn't develop the life skills and attitudes of a mature adult. They stop growing in life maturity and become more self-absorbed, unable to handle stress in a healthy way. And as a result, they could be 50 years old today or older and be acting like a 14-year-old. And I'll just, I'll let it fly for a second. Oh, that's not fair. Why should I have to do that? How come my sister, and oh, gee, can I do it later? We're asking you to take out the garbage, which will take likely between 90 and 120 seconds to do. And you're whining like someone's asking you to move the moon. Why? Because they don't want to do that. They're not responsible. And so many times, I've even used this with some of you, that's adolescent thinking. That's the emotional adolescent who is really good at being self-absorbed, doesn't handle stress well. But part of growing up in life is learning that effort is needed to succeed at most anything. You see, the addict in you doesn't want to do the hard work, to buy the books, to work through this on your own, to do the 12-step program, to be accountable. The addict doesn't want to be accountable. The addict wants to be in control of their life. The addict doesn't want to become known. The addict wants to hide. You see, but you see, maturity means I am willing to be accountable. I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to make changes. That's the opposite of emotional adolescence. But rather, with emotional adolescence, the teen doesn't develop any ability for deferred gratification. Work hard, save that for later. It's all instant gratification. They're often impatient, often complaining, often self-absorbed, often blaming, often excuse making, often minimizing, often hiding, often lying, often carry the poor me attitude or this is too hard approach to life. Now, none of these dispositions are signs of maturing in life. That's emotional adolescence, and that's a whole 30-minute talk, not a 5-minute review. Question is, are you an emotional adolescent? Because immature people will avoid discomfort of any kind and will use the discomfort connected to the addiction as a reason for acting out. Now, what should guide our feelings? It's interesting. Though the Bible recognizes the emotional dispositions of many people, likely the best place to look is you can read a host of emotions in the Psalms with David's heart up and down. And here's a man said later, even after his worst choices in life, here's a man that's after God's own heart. But David's emotions are all over the place. He's defeated, he's discouraged, he's downcast, he's this and this and this and this. Interesting though, it ends up, okay, well, I'm going to still trust in God through this. Well, not a bad approach, David. That's what we're trying to do. But listen, the Bible doesn't give a lot of sympathy or credence to feelings. If you feel this way, I understand, it's okay. No, you can feel this way. But the Bible calls us to think clear and to act right, and doesn't discuss how you feel about it. Doesn't really, oh, I know it's tough. Okay, but no, listen, at the end of the day, you got to think clear about things and make good choices about things. Feelings are going to challenge that all the time. So the solution is you need to be anchored by the truth and simply do what is right. You need to tell your feelings to get in line, or as I've said with this talk, tell your feelings to shut up. I pulled this verse out of Galatians 4, and I'm right now in Ephesians. I just finished Galatians last week, and this was in my personal devotion, and I want to come to it because it's referring to a positive feeling. The word is zealous. Zealous is not a word that we use much anymore. I really like the word zealous, but it says it's fine to be zealous, provided the purpose is good, and to be so always, not just when I'm with you. Now, zealous is an emotional word. It means passionate, eager, enthusiastic, even obsessive, even fanatical. So let's break down what the scripture is saying about these driving emotions and says it's fine to be zealous. Okay, it's fine to be passionate. It's fine to be enthusiastic, even obsessive about things. It's fine. So it's not wrong to have emotions that drive you, but notice what it says, provided the purpose is good. Well, that changes a lot of things. Because if you are passionate, if you're obsessive, if you're fanatical, matter of fact, I've often used the words that we need to develop positive addictions, things that we are zealous about that are good things. I mean, okay, so the armband that some of you have, I'm wearing mine here. I'm just got to pull it down behind my shirt. But this armband that says walk with integrity. I mean, I created this because Doug says beyond people going to a group, it's guys for the first 90 days using the band to snap them when they're going to do something stupid is most commonly referred to as the second most helpful thing that guys were able to get past the first 90 days by oh, dang, that hurt. Snapping the elastic to just snap them out of stupid direction and to get clear thinking. But you see, when I talk about positive addiction, you notice that it says walk with integrity. It doesn't mean don't look at porn or don't act out. I just put walk with integrity. But the other side says pray for my family. Why? Because if you're tempted to do something wrong and you snap to walk with integrity and not go there, but you don't stop there and you go on to start praying for your wife and kids and grandkids, the very thing that was going to cause you to go in a negative direction, you're now using it as an impetus to start doing something right, to pray for your family. Now your addiction is actually causing you to pray more. Praying more is a positive addiction. You see? And so it's fine to be zealous. It's okay to have these emotions that get pumped up. It's okay, provided the purpose is good. So now ask yourself, okay, is this, I'm driven to do this. Is this good? Oh no, this is not good. Okay, well, it's fine to be zealous, provided the purpose is good. And look at this. And to be so always. It screams a consistency. You see, too often we are saying the right things and doing the right things when we're with group, when we're talking about guys, when we're in public, whatever. But to be so always means there's a consistency. And so there's where the growth comes, that it's good to be zealous. Make sure the reason you're pumped about something is a good thing. And then to be consistent on that it's all the time. I'm going to keep going in this direction. And you develop these positive addictions. And it says, not just when I'm with you. That's why you got to be known. This small group of guys where you become known, that they know your business, they know your struggles, they know your hurts, they know your pains. Understand that the opposite of addiction is connection. That you're going to be zealous in a good direction consistently and publicly with the men in your group. Now your feelings are directed in a healthy way. If it's not going in a good direction and consistently and publicly and privately, then you're not catching on to the healthy use of emotion. 6 reasons why you can't trust your feelings, especially negative ones. And I stopped at 6. I'm sure there could be more. So just walk with me through these. Feelings have been hijacked by your sexual addiction. Remember the connection between, the pain avoidance thing. There's a real correlation between these two of your feelings, especially negative emotion and sexual addiction. So it's going to be hard to kind of unwind those two. Number 2, you can't really trust, especially your negative feelings, because your sexual addiction started in adolescence, has made you an emotional cripple. You are likely haven't matured emotionally and don't fully know it or even know what you're missing, because you were all in this development stage and you don't even realize what you haven't developed in because you haven't developed there yet. And thirdly, of course, feelings change. there's ups and downs in a person's emotions. It's almost limitless. And emotional decisions are dangerous decisions, whether it's made on bad emotions, fear, brokenness, abandonment, we make poor decisions of that. We can also make poor decisions on euphoria, where we haven't thought things through and just whimsically just lurching at things. 4, feelings are rarely anchored in truth. Feelings are often skewed by foolish, erroneous thinking. I call it stinking thinking. And if you want more on that, just like I have a whole talk on emotional adolescence, I have a whole talk I did on the downward spiral of worry and how our negative thinking, our stinking thinking affects our emotions. And we start fixating on negative emotions, and it causes us to make poor choices, and we act in a direction that is born out of incorrect thinking. So feelings are rarely anchored by truth. Feelings are often skewed by foolish or erroneous thinking. 5thly, feelings acted on lead to far more poor choices than good ones. If I make decisions based on especially negative feelings, I'm going to have a host of poor choices. If you decide, oh, I don't know, it's not worth, my wife's giving up on me, what's the point? I might as well just act out again. It doesn't matter. See, you're operating on erroneous thinking. First of all, that you need to be working on your recovery for your own good, for your own health, for your own stability, for your own honoring of the Lord, not just to get your wife back. And if you're basing your response and your recovery on your wife's response to you, you could be all over the map, because she's got all kinds of things that she's got to work through because of your addiction too. And so feelings acted on will lead you to an awful lot of poor decisions. Most of the time, our relapses are based on acting on poor negative feelings, and really do lead to poor choices, obviously. And number 6, a person who is run by their emotions is a dangerous and unstable entity. Some anchoring truth here. And I just thought of another one that I want to throw in here. So it's not even in the notes, and I'm going to say it first before I forget it. But base your life decisions, men, on what you value, not on what you feel. Base your life decisions on what you value, not on what you feel. And I want to give credit to Dr. Stephen Stosny, who on my TV show, we had a whole segment in one of our shows, a whole segment in that episode on basing your decisions on what you value, not on how you feel. Dr. Hobart Maurer said this, very powerful. I quote it lots in my counseling. It's easier to act your way into the correct feeling than to feel your way into the correct action. If I wait till I feel like doing something, I may wait till hell freezes over 4 times. But if I do what is right, what happens is by consistently doing what is right, I start to feel better about myself. I feel better about my decisions. I feel better about the direction that I'm going. And I act consistently based on solid truth in a direction that I know to be right. And what happens is the feeling starts to come. I start to feel better. But if I base my life on how I feel, I'll never get to correct actions, because my feelings are all over, and I can be up one day and down the next. When I speak to youth, this is the line I use a lot. Sometimes your head has to tell your heart to shut up. Sometimes our heart, often led by our emotions, is screaming to act out in a certain way, do a certain thing. But you see, maturity in life, developing character, developing morals and values, it was what has to anchor you. And that's why when scripture talks about the renewing of your mind, we're actually saying, fill your mind so that it affects your heart. And so sometimes your head has to tell your heart to shut up. Don't do this. Don't go with your emotions on this. Well, it just felt right at the time. So that's why I went and slept with this lady I met at this bar. No, your head has to tell your heart to shut up when it's run by negative emotions. It was interesting. This next line. At the time, he was in my college program. Sadly, he contracted cancer and passed away at around 29 or 30, 2 days after his first child was born. But he became a Christian through my college ministry, actually called Roaring Twenties, that I ran for 8 years, ran with 400 to 600 college students. But he said this to me in my office, and I'll give him credit anonymously. He says, it seems, Pastor Dave, that the right thing to do is usually the hardest thing, but it's the thing that you can live with later. Whoa, did he get it? Did he get it? And he came out of a real addictive, messed up, broken family. And he was trying to put life together after years of drug and alcohol addiction and who knows what else. Really grew in the Lord. But it seems, Pastor Dave, that the right thing to do is usually the hardest thing, but it's the one that you can live with later. Brilliant. The right thing to do is usually the hardest thing, but it carries no regrets. If you do the right thing, you don't have a lot of regrets. If you do the wrong thing consistently, you got regret after regret. You live on regrets. The right thing to do is rarely about putting your needs first. Many times in talking to guys, well, what's the point? You know, it's so hard. She's not this, she's not that. They're giving me this one, right? And doing the right thing is rarely about putting your needs first. I have a right, this is not fair. She should forgive me. They're giving me this whole line. And it's really self-absorbed thinking. It's really adolescent thinking. It's really adolescent behavior, emotional adolescence. And so the right thing to do is usually the hardest thing, but you can, live with it for life. The right thing to do is usually the hardest thing. It carries no regrets. So the right thing to do is rarely about putting your needs first. So where to go from here in this discussion today? And I got some suggestions. Learn to live with your own pain and discomfort. Part of maturing in life is you're not always going to feel good about things. At 10 after 5 this morning, when my alarm went off to get up and finish this talk, it wasn't, oh, I feel so good about getting up at 5:10. Oh, that's exhilarating. No, I have to live with my own little brother. I'm dragging my butt out of here and got to get going on this talk, and felt the pressure of having something to say here. But I didn't operate. Oh, I'm too tired. I'm not getting up now. And then I just come and wing this. No. You have to overcome your need for relief from your discomfort, especially with the PMO cycle as your go-to drug of choice. Number 2, you got to work through all the sources of your emotional or life baggage. You got some pains that are been spinning in your head and heart for a long time. Past hurts and trauma are often triggers that repeatedly cripple us. So every guy's got their issues that they need to work through. They got their inner dark voices going. They got lots of things that can trip them up, and lots of past hurts in many cases that you don't even realize how much they're affecting you, and really good to work through the sources of your emotional life baggage. Number 3, do an honest assessment as to your emotional maturity. Are you acting like an emotional adolescent? Now, I don't think this is wise, but one couple I worked with, and they'll go unnamed, in one of the times they had with me, it became really clear what emotional adolescent was. And it became such a talk that they used with each other. Well, you're acting like an emotional adolescent right now. And they would call each other out this way. Well, it's likely not good to be using this as a bit of a beat stick and, be careful. But if you do an honest one, or say to your buddy, hey, listen, call me out. Like, I'll say to any of you guys, if I think you're just minimizing, you're making excuses, or you're justifying whatever, I'll say, hey, come on. You're being an emotional lesson here. Listen to yourself. Listen to your excuse making you're giving. Okay, so that's okay, but you can do that yourself. Number 4, Learn the maturity of other-centeredness. One of my longtime famous talks that I've done to thousands of young people in the years I used to travel and speak to youth is this. Listen to this. You haven't begun to live your life. You haven't even begun to live your life until you begin living your life for other people. You haven't begun to live your life until you begin living your life for other people. The power and the difference that other-centeredness makes. See, the addict is not good at empathy. Matter of fact, I will write about that yet. See, the greater the addiction, the less empathy. Empathy is to feel with others, to put yourself in their shoes. We do not empathize well as men who are addicts. And for you to empathize what you put your wife through kind of can slap you in the face and wake you up to the reality is, I got to grow up and mature and make changes. I got to quit making excuses, expecting her to kind of, just, go along with this. I'm trying my best. And, so whatever, relapse every 4 days. I'm working hard. Look, I went to group, and that's all flipping emotional adolescent. That's like the 14-year-old. And so we got to learn to empathize. And one of the ones that I threw in here that's quite specific is when you say you're sorry, it doesn't remove the damage that you've done. Rebuilding trust takes time. And you got to be patient with her giving room for you again. But just because you say, oh, you're sorry, that doesn't change things. I mean, if you pull a trigger and blast your shoulder off and you do that again and again through your acting out behavior, and you keep shooting her and opening up this wound again, healing takes time. You go, oh, I'm really sorry, but you're standing there with the smoking gun. I'm really sorry, honey. I know I shouldn't have done that. Would you forgive me? Well, she won't even forgive me. Well, for crying out loud, she doesn't even stop the bleeding yet. But you see, there's a sign of emotional immaturity that we think that forgiveness, when she says that word, oh, there's no more feelings. You can't bring that up again. Don't bring that up again. It's not fair. You forgave me. No, shut up. She got hurt to work through. So grow up and let her work through her feelings and you mature. Number 6, get in the word daily to renew your mind, rebuild your life. Like I said, I'm in Ephesians, actually chapter 5 today. I'll be working through sometime later. Somebody had to finish a talk this morning, so normally I will have read my Bible before I come to regroup. But get in the word daily to renew your mind. It says, be not conformed to this world. Don't be conformed to the world that simply operates on whims and meet my own needs. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed, gentlemen. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Wow. Be in the word. And that's Romans 12:2. And the second part of the active work is number 7. Put in the work of recovery. I told one gentleman who's on the call today, I said, do me a favor. Just work hard for a year and you'll put this behind you and things will change. But just work hard for the year. You're a young man with a young family. And if you put the work in now, we'll put this to bed forever. Don't give me 3 weeks or, make it here and there. Shut up and come for a year, do the work. And oh my goodness, I believe he's buying the truth of that. But put in the work of recovery, quit the excuses, no pain, no gain. And number 8, and in my usual Currie format, a little bit of sass talk at the end. Tell your feelings to shut up or be an emotional cripple the rest of your life. For you to realize how the addiction has hampered your ability to mature emotionally and to make good decisions could be one of the most important things that you learn in your recovery. I hope that encourages you, man. It's so good to be back.